To solve this assignment, I'm first going to set up my storyboard. In the interest of having a nice logical flow to our solution, I'm going to set up my entire storyboard at once, and hopefully if you're taking a look at this video before starting the assignment, you'll be able to get an idea of where this project is going and the types of information we're going to need to fill out from our implementation files. So the first thing we'll do is we'll drag in some additional view controllers. I'm going to zoom out here so I can add these more easily. So we're going to go ahead and add a view controller up here, and we can drag this over. And let's add another view controller, and I can scroll over a little bit. And let's add a fourth view controller in here. And our view controller here is going to be able to segue to these additional view controllers. So I'm going to set them up just kind of how the segues are going to work here. So I'm going to be able to segue from this view controller down here. This one's going to be able to transition here. I'm also going to be able to transition from this one all the way up here as well. So let's go ahead and create files in order to manage these view controllers. So we're going to go and create new classes. So we can go to File, New File. And let's go ahead and make sure this is iOS Cocoa Touch Objective-C class. We can press Next. And let's make sure this is a subclass of UI View Controller. And we can type in cc add task view controller. And let's go ahead and press Next and press Create. And let's move these right down below our view controller here in our organizer, just so we have a little bit of a nicer file structure. And I need to add two more files or classes to manage my two additional view controllers. So we can call the second one CC Detail Task View Controller. I can go ahead and press Next and press Create. And I'm also going to do the same thing for the Edit Task View Controller here. So I'm going to say CC Edit Task View Controller. Again, it's a subclass of UI View Controller. And let's create this as well. So we have these all nicely lined up. And we're going to go back to our storyboard here, and we're going to update each one of the classes in the Identity Inspector for each of the view controllers we added. So for our first view controller up here, let's go ahead and make this CC Add Task View Controller. And then for my view controller down here, let's go ahead and make this CC Detail Task View Controller. And then for the far one right here, this will be our edit. So we can see CC Edit Task View Controller. Great, so now I have files that manage each one of these view controller files. And let's go ahead and create the segues for them. So we can go ahead and zoom in here. And the first thing I'm going to do is in my view controller, I'm going to go ahead and embed this in a navigation controller. So I get a nice little file structure here. And we see that now we get this taskbar. And I'm going to go ahead and create segues to my Add Task View Controller and my Detail Task View Controller. So with my view controller selected and my scene outline, I'm going to hold down the Control key and I'm going to drag first to the Add Task View Controller, which is at the top here. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a modal transition or a modal segue. And I'm going to go ahead and give this segue an identifier. So we're going to call this to Add Task View Controller Segue. And notice it's modal. Now let's go ahead and create a segue from my view controller to my Detail Task View Controller. So again, I'm going to select my view controller in the scene outline, and I'm going to hold down the Control key. I'm going to drag to Detail Task View Controller. I'm going to release, and I'm going to make this a push segue. So notice that this one gets a bar button item and this top one does not. So actually let me reposition these a little bit more nicely so we can see them as well. So great. The last one I want to set up is from my Detail Task View Controller to my Edit Task View Controller. So let's go ahead and make sure these nicely lined up. And I'm going to select my Detail Task View Controller to my scene outline. And holding down the Control key, I'm going to drag up to my Edit Task View Controller and I'm going to make this a push segue as well. Now, I also have to go ahead and give identifiers from my view controller to my Detail Task View Controller. So let's go ahead and give this an identifier. And notice I'm in the Attributes Inspector, and let's say to Detail Task View Controller Segue. And let's go ahead and set up the segue from my Detail Task View Controller to my Edit Task View Controller. So let's say to Edit Task View Controller Segue. So great, now I've set up my transitions between all of my view controllers that I've added to my storyboard.